I'm not going to really talk about Genexus Canada. You guys can check it out on the web. But we're going to be doing a contest to basically partner with a startup. So we will deploy cross-platform and we'll create the whole website solution for a startup. So in 2 weeks, we're going to put it online. So
We'll be promoting it?
yeah, we'll be talking to you guys on that. And I'll leave it as that.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Thank you, David. So Microsoft was a bronze sponsor until last month. This month they joined us as a gold sponsor. Not sure if there's anybody from Microsoft today, but you'll hear more about this with the workshops that we're planning. Also, Acura Shareway joined us as a sponsor this month as well. Amir from Acura Shareway, if you tweet him at Acura Shareway, he's not here today, but great guy. Make sure you talk to him if you have an Acura. Or,
I think we're planning to give away a car to one of our followers tonight.
yeah.
We're working on that.
So. And then we've got Jam Direct. You joined us this month as a gold sponsor, so you guys can come out.
Right?
Oh, right here. So
just super quick, I introduced myself to someone here and they said Jam Who, and that's what we're here to change. We're an agency located in Toronto, Liberty Village, great space. We are basically here because we want to meet good digital people. You guys are hard to find. We have a few on our team that are awesome, but we're growing like a weed and we need more. Full-time front-end developers right now, longer term, like we're PHP back-end developers, digital media buyer. So that's why we're here. We want to meet you. We want to get CVs in the door. Right now we're doing a lot of work for Bell, The Source, Joe Boxer. We just launched joeboxer.ca. We have a Facebook promotion on The Source right now. It's kind of neat, all jQuery based. We're very forward leaning, so won't be cliche and say cutting edge, but HTML5, jQuery. We're just pushing our clients to do more and better with the technology we have and make it mobile friendly and responsive and things like that. So it is a great place to work. People-centric, we don't have a technology. We're selling a great team of people glued together to come up with great work. Forward-thinking. It's about great work, not counting hours. Just a quick example, took someone to my boss a few weeks ago. We were already over budget. We had the team had some great ideas. He's like, scrap it, do it again. I want something that looks great. So that we continue to win the next job from our clients. Quick thing, cater breakfasts and lunches. Just a small perk to mention, and we're a small 50-person team, so it's a good organization. Thanks. Check us out at Jam Direct, and my email is brad@jamdirect.ca, so love to hear from you or anyone you know.
So next up we've got Bodan from Mercatus. So the inside joke with Bodan is that he sponsored us through 3 different companies.
He kind of stole my thunder. Okay, for those who don't know me, I have sponsored, or proud to sponsor DevTO for about 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years, I was across 3 companies. Always a great crowd. My current gig, I'm a full-time CTO at Mercatus. In terms of what Mercatus does, we are focused on increasing traction between end consumers and a given retail brand. Right now, I have right now a 27-person team focused across Dev, QA, and product management, always looking to hire great people. So in terms of the technology stack that I'm looking into, PHP generalists, Ruby, front end, product managers, QA people. So in addition to that, I basically advise a number of startups across the GTA and Waterloo regions. So in addition to contacting DevTO, if you're looking for a job, please free to reach out to me. I have a great network, and chances are, if you are looking for a job, I can hook you up.
Thank you so much. So our in-kind sponsors, big thanks to FITC. We're going to do a giveaway from them later today. There will be something up from them shortly. Steam Whistle, New Relic, we're looking at doing we're still talking to them, but hopefully we'll have something new and interesting for all you developer folks to get at and monitor your applications using them. Finally, we have Travis from Incubes, our generous host tonight. Welcome us again. So, hello, Travis.
During business hours, this is an internet business accelerator. And one of the reasons we wanted to connect with DevTO is not only that it's one of the best, I think, developer events in Toronto, but we want to connect with talent. And what makes Incubes different than other accelerators is that we can work with very early startups, and we're an accelerator that's founded by startup founders for startup founders. So have a look at us at incubes.ca, and I'm looking forward to meeting as many of you as possible.
So our video here and photography is done by Chow Productions. They've been taking our pictures and video for the first time today, but pictures for the past couple of years or a year and a half maybe, something like that. Anyway, so if you're holding an event and you're interested in having video or pictures, make sure to reach out to these guys here at Chow Productions. Okay, so we have a couple of other announcements. So this Perks app launched recently from a member from DevTO. So he's offering a 50% lifetime discount off their product. This product is Twitter on autopilot. So it uses it to curate content, suggest followers, etc. It's non-spammy. He claims it's great, and he's offering us a good discount. Looks really good. Check it out, perksapp.com, and you get a 50% discount. It's about $7 a month if you're interested. DX3 Canada is happening next week, or the week after, March 6th to the 7th. So you can give out tickets to that last month. We don't have any this month, but make sure to check out dx3canada.com for tickets. The YMC in Toronto is hosting some workshops, building web applications with Python and Django. It starts March 9th on Saturdays at 12 p.m. Learn more about that at the YMC. Do you have anybody from the YMC here? No?
That Jeffrey guy. He's from YMC. No, he's from BW.
So there's this. So we've heard about jQuery in Toronto is happening as well. So, but there's this also jQuery in Hamilton. So hammering with jQuery launched recently as well. So you can get your tickets at ticketek.com/jQueryhamon. So Brian's gonna share some stuff about jQuery, how to get started, things you need to know, and if you're interested, you can get tickets at ticketek.com/jQueryhamon. All right, so FITC. Is Matt here?
Yeah.
Is that correct? So we're giving out 1 ticket to FITC Toronto 2013, 2 tickets to the Web Performance Optimization Workshop. There's a discount code up here.
So yes, I was talking about, I guess, 3 main things. One, about FITC Spotlight coming up Saturday, March 16th, which is going to be on web optimization and performance. So the Spotlight events are a one-day event where they pick one particular topic and have just one track on it all the way through. So there is the discount code to get 20% off the tickets. Make tickets $139. And so, yeah, it's just sort of one day, one track on focusing on that, which is always good. Then the bigger event is FITC Toronto in April. It's 3 days, and it's all mainly focused on sort of front-end development, but also on art installations, on various sort of technology, open frame things such as open frameworks, HTML5, and that is coming up. But on top of that, the other thing I want to bring up is FITC awards that are happening at FITC Toronto. They're looking for people who have created great quality work in this past year, 2012. And I think the deadline to apply for one of their awards is, I think, March 1st. So sort of just, we're getting sort of close to sort of the deadline. I think it is $75 to submit something, and you can submit to 3 different categories, as well as that is for projects worldwide. They also have 4 categories something like best designer, best developer, I think best student, all Canadian, and best studio. Those are free to be nominated. People sort of nominate those and voted upon. And yeah, and can wave tickets at the end of the day.
Thank you, Matt. So, win these tickets, you gotta tweet #DevTO, take me to @FITC. We'll do the giveaway later on today. So that's DevTO, take me to FITC. And you'll get either the one ticket to FITC or the pair to the web performance optimization. So you can bring a friend. So Genexus Canada is also giving out 2 iPhone shuffles again today. So to win that, you gotta tweet pick me at Genexus Canada #DevTO. I'll put all these back up soon, so you'll be able to see those. But again, that's pick me at Genexus Canada #DevTO.
Just out of curiosity, who here knows about Startup Weekend? Just show of hands, just quickly. Who doesn't know about Startup Weekend? Anybody? All right. So just for the people who don't know, Startup Weekend, it's sort of a 54-hour crunch time on starting a business or building a startup. I had no idea about it when I went to my first one. Now I know a whole lot about it, and I knew nothing about accelerators. I knew nothing about incubator programs and anything like that. But now I'm sort of right in the whirlwind of it all with group notes. So I'll just let you guys know my story and how I got here, and just sort of take it from there. So I'll go over here. So how it began. A friend of mine, Matt, he invited me to this Startup Weekend event. He said, "You're a developer, I'm a developer. Let's make something cool over the weekend. Here's somebody's business idea and let's build it." So I thought, hey, might as well. So my college buddy, there he is. This is his face. That was him in college. That's him now. Hasn't changed much.
That's him right now.
Yeah, right now. So he invited me to Startup Weekend Peel, and out in Mississauga, and it was held at Sheridan College in Mississauga, and I had no idea what to expect, and I heard a bunch of people pitch these crazy business ideas. Some of them were really cool, some of them weren't so cool, but everybody pitched an idea. And so him and I joined up with an idea called Card Drop, and we ended up actually winning Startup Weekend Peel. And there's me, I'm so excited. Just as a contrast, there's somebody back there who's not enjoying himself, which I thought was kind of funny. And then there's me with a little trophy. And woo! So Startup Weekend Peel was kind of small because it was the first time they ever ran it. There weren't a lot of good ideas and things like that, but it was so much fun that we all decided, and the people that we met, we decided to go to Startup Weekend Toronto. And the person who had the idea for Card Drop, he said, "Listen, I got a better idea, and we'll do it at Startup Weekend Toronto." And I said, "Don't tell me what it is. Let's do this again. Friday to Sunday, no sleep, whatever it takes. We'll do something cool." So Startup Weekend Toronto happened. So the idea for Group Notes was pitched, and it was a collaboration tool for students. So essentially what the business idea was is you can annotate any web page on the web page, and all your group members will see the exact same notes as they're browsing the web.
Amazing.
It's crazy. It's awesome. So anyway, so we went through it, and we went through Startup Weekend Toronto. Here's some photos of it. And then, yeah, so Startup Weekend Toronto, we ended up winning 3 weeks after winning Startup Weekend Peel. So it's kind of crazy, and that was in November. And now I'm working full-time on Group Notes. So some of the prizes for that was we got to open the Toronto Stock Exchange. There's us, and you can see 2 of the people have their eyes closed. And that was the only picture we had of our team for the longest time, with people with their eyes closed. But yeah, so after that, there was a thing that we had no idea about called the Global Startup Battle. It basically, all the winners of Startup Weekends from around the world make a 90-second video, 90-second pitch video about their product, and then they have to get a crap load of votes, and they if they make the top 15, they get to go in front of a panel of judges. So I actually went to another startup or DevTO event and asked people for votes. So if you guys recognize me at all, I was begging you for votes. But what the crazy thing of the thing was, we won. We won the Global Startup Battle. So apparently we were this all of that we won oh wait, there's a global startup battle. So we were doing some crazy things to promote ourselves, walking around university campuses with horse masks and handing out cookies and stuff. It was really guerrilla marketing, but yeah. So we won a trip to San Francisco, and we got to go to Google and a bunch of other things, and we had such a blast doing it. That was just before biking over the Golden Gate Bridge, and my legs after that hurt a lot. Now, after all of that, we are in an accelerator program in the Kitchener-Waterloo area called Communitech Hyperdrive. And it's a 3-month program, and we're day 25 is today. And we should be working right now. This is coming from a developer who knew nothing about any of this, and now this is my full-time job. I quit a comfy job for an agency making websites. I'm now living in a house with 5 dudes. There's literally 1.5 bedrooms. Yeah, it's crazy, but it's by far the most fun I have ever had working on something ever. And this all started from Startup Weekend. And I know nothing about making a business. And all of us, we're learning as we're going along. And it's pretty crazy. So one of the things I was asked to sort of tell everybody about my experience, and my experience as somebody who just keeps winning these things somehow. It's awesome. It is so much fun. Even if you don't win, I had plans to do something completely different. I don't know, maybe get hammered after the winners were announced, but we had work to do. So it's crazy. So anyways, the question is, how did we do it? We learned a few things along the way. And really this is, for anybody going to a startup weekend, this is things that you can sort of take. For anybody who's just starting a business maybe, there's information in this that you can take for that as well. But yeah, so this is basically how we did it. The point is to prove the business. What good is an idea if nobody's going to pay money for it, and what good is an idea if you can't actually make it? So that really the 2 pieces are, can you build it and will people pay for it? With Card Drop was an idea, and I don't really want to get into exactly what it is, but we proved it by talking to people, and there were real estate agents that we talked to and said they pay $200 a year per agent for it. So hey, there's some dollar signs you can put on that. So and with what we did with Group Notes is we actually went and we made sales over Startup Weekend. We made, I think it's $550. Of selling the idea, something that's not even a product, to university professors. People were willing to pay for it. And from a developer's perspective, all we had to do was prove it's possible. And so yeah, my tips are take shortcuts. This is a competition. We did it without user accounts. Who needs user accounts? You don't need a login form. You just need the thing to work. Sessions, screw that. Do not use platforms you're inexperienced with. We attempted to deploy onto Azure, and we knew nothing about Azure. There was somebody from Microsoft BizSpark who was there, and he was a lot of help. It was awesome, but we didn't know what the hell we were doing. So when we started making web worker roles and it taking 30 minutes to deploy and having no log, we didn't know what the hell we were doing with it. So don't do that. We spent a lot of wasted time this weekend trying to deploy this onto Azure. Just because we hadn't used it. Now I know a little bit more. I might be able to. So use what you're comfortable with. Build the concept, not the platform. We could have made user accounts. We could have done email notification systems and all that stuff, but at the core, the concept of Group Notes is to annotate web pages, and any web page. That's the idea. So we needed to work on injecting scripts into web pages. We needed to work on, and one of the big things about it is it's real time. If 2 people are on the same web page, they see the notes appear in real time. So we needed to solve those problems before building the user account system, sessions, all that good stuff, and so that's what we kind of went at. So at Startup Weekend, nobody expects a final product. It is impossible to build a business, bottom to top, over a weekend. I couldn't do it, and now that we're working full-time on this, spending 15-hour days working on it, I know it's not possible in 54 hours. Does this code belong here? Probably not, get over it. I argue with myself a lot on where code should be. Should it be in the database layer? Should it be in the services layer? Should it be whatever layer you want it to? If you're asking yourself the question, you're probably right, it shouldn't be there, but it doesn't matter on that weekend. Because really do only what it takes to make things work. So we had a lot of logic in the wrong places. And I am an advocate about naming conventions and things like that, but all that was blown away for the weekend. So this is a competition. Follow the criteria. Somebody is spelling it out somewhere. Any competition, they're going to say these are the points the judges are going to be judging on. Find out what they are, and at the end you have to do a pitch to these judges, and maybe even a demo if you're that far along. And make sure you hit every single point of that criteria. That's the important part. So know what the judge is expecting, and then write code that produces results, and don't write code that passes tests. We had things crashing, but we also had, for our tech demo, we had SSH terminals open, so we could restart things that crash for reasons we didn't really know. But that's what it's all about. You are going to rewrite everything. We probably wrote a few thousand lines of code over that weekend, top to bottom, but since then, we've taken the concepts and we've done them more justice now. We've taken those problems we've solved and now we've made it elegant. But I don't think there's a single line of code we kept from that weekend because it was pointless. We wrote it for the idea of winning that competition, and that's it. So yeah, when I went to Startup Weekend Peel, somebody presenting said Startup Weekend can change your life, and anytime I've ever heard that, I've thought, yeah, whatever, that doesn't make sense. Things like this, 54-hour sprints, they don't change your life, but they really, really have. So my advice, if you go to one of these events, and I highly recommend it, go with high expectations of yourself. You're going to write some pretty crappy code, but you're going to write some code that's going to wow yourself and wow people who are looking at it. Work harder than you ever have. I think I got 4 hours of sleep that whole weekend, or both weekends really. And for it, I'm more proud of myself ever than any other project I've done. And take on an idea and make something awesome. Part of Group Notes is that real-time experience, and we built it so you can be on a web page and have a member of one of your groups leave a note on our website and you just see it pop up. There's no need for going to dashboards and see feeds and get notifications in an app. It happens live on the web page. And we made that work over the weekend. And that was one of the most awesome things I think I've ever produced. So with that in mind, really I say everybody should attend a Startup Weekend, regardless of the size of it, regardless of if it's an education-specific one. People are going to have ideas. And, I've been talking for a while, so I'll show you guys Group Notes and sort of what we built, and now what we're getting into. Yes. Okay. Cool. Actually, I got to go log into my account on it. And live tech demos never work. Was another tip. So this is bound to fail. Yeah, I know.
You restart this every night?
We're stable. Matt says we're stable. It never works at a time like this. Okay. So, I guess we're working. So, the way our platform is built is with a Chrome extension. For the most part, it injects things into every web page for all you Uber geeks. It's a whole lot of fun. So, let's see what we got here. Let's see if this is going to actually work for me. I hate Macs, by the way. If anybody here is an advocate, I don't like it.
Bad money.
Come on.
Stuff on any laptop, doesn't mouse stuff.
for something. I left myself a note so I could see it later, to hopefully make this process a little more smooth. Which it's not. Come on. All right, whoever's torrenting, stop. Right now. Come on.
Web font, fail.
I think that was directed at somebody who made the site. Still loading.
Do it on a text document.
How good is YouTube's internet normally?
Not very good right now.
Oh my god, look at that, look at it spin. Oh, it is.
It's running for me.
Shut up! You're not standing here. A lot of people. Pinterest. Is that what we're waiting for?
Yep.
Do you have a Pinterest widget on here? Taking it up somewhere else.
Can we ask questions?
Sure, ask questions. It's a good time.
In terms of the startup that you're involved with, the incubator,
Yeah.
is that you're an employee, owner?
I am a co-founder, so I partially own Groovenotes. Really, it would have been difficult for me to quit my job had I not had something like that to pull me in. But yeah, that's basically it. So with the incubator program, they gave us a little bit of money. They took a very small amount of equity, and they gave us space to work in, and they've given us access to a large network of mentors. And that's the biggest piece of it, is that we're going to be learning doing this, so might as well have industry experts from all categories teaching you the way to do things, and the way to build a business, and the way to do all that. So, yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Are you incorporated?
We are incorporated.
And did you do that startup weekend? Or
No, we didn't do that startup weekend. We had better things to do.
Right.
Sorry?
Quick, fill out the application.
Yeah, no, we have incorporated it, which is good. That was a process that I never understood. I don't deal with lawyers normally in my day-to-day life. So yeah. Twinage? Whatever that is. I don't know if it's going to let you take me another minute.
Wikipedia.
Wikipedia won't even load? This was doomed to fail, yeah.
How did you reconcile throwing out all the rules of structure and still work cohesively with other developers?
I was working with one other developer, really. Oh, look at that!
We gotta know.
That's right on the webpage. Okay. So, throwing out the structure of programming, that really, personally, that was a tough thing to do. I think it may have been easier for Matt. But we communicate really well. We can tell each other when one person's being an idiot. And that happens a whole damn lot. And really, as long as the two, or for us, it was two developers, as long as you guys understand the concepts that you're trying to build, and you guys understand I guess the naming conventions of everything. Like the system we built this on is an idea that Matt had called Wormhole. So it's an odd name, but now we think in that terminology and everything that has to do with Wormhole and how it works. So really, we started building a concept and having the conversation pieces out of it. And with that, you can start breaking rules. As long as you can speak the same language, you can break all the rules, in my mind at least. And actually, just another point, I think 2 developers is the magic number for something like this over the weekend. Any more, and everyone starts stepping on each other's feet. Because that was, for the first one, we had a 3rd developer with card drop, and it was tough to keep conversations between 3 people and to keep understanding between 3 people. So afterwards, after the startup weekend experience, you can have a huge team if you want to, but that's that. Other questions? Yes?
How important is creative direction? If your thing looks like console output or just spit something onto a page, is that less value than someone that has some maybe Photoshop or creative skills and can make it look a little bit more polished?
That's one of the things where you find more talent than just developers and business people at a startup weekend. We worked with some great designers, and there are people that I wish we could have kept along the way. But for them and for us, it just didn't quite work out. But we did have people that could help make it look good. So there were pieces of our pitch that had graphic elements that I could never do. Don't ask me to Photoshop a single graphic. I can make a photo look a little more contrasty, but beyond that, I can't make graphics. But you work with a much larger team there. Everyone's there to have fun. Everyone's there to produce something, and you can really find the best of both worlds. So, yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah, ideally you start this with strangers, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
How does it work? Like, you guys have hit on a great idea.
Yeah.
How does it work if we don't know each other, and we come up with this great idea together? How do you decide how to break the business down? Like, are you all equal partners? Who takes the role?
We had some very awkward conversations about things like that between us, just because everyone wants to.
And does that happen before or after?
For us, it happened
become a
after.
winner?
For us, it happened after. But the guy who had the idea, it's essentially his idea, and we were
Right.
helping him build it.
Yep.
So he told everybody at the start of the meeting, he said, I don't know what we're going to need after this. He said, if this is looking like something, I might want to pursue it. And he took ownership of it at that moment
Okay.
by giving everybody that disclaimer. And if anybody didn't want to follow him with that idea, they really had the right to leave. It's just an event over a weekend. But we all went in there and sort of, yeah. Oh, look, I got a comment. There we go. So yeah, afterwards we had the difficult conversation of breaking apart a business. Questions I never thought I would need to ever answer when it comes down to it. But if you're working with people who are as dedicated as you are on an idea, that stuff, it can happen at any point. And you guys are going to work something out, really, is what it comes down to.
Great. Thank you, Graham.
16 different speakers from all around, guys from Twitter, Facebook, Google. It's amazing. We've got some really cool stuff, 3D stuff, lots of jQuery, lots of JavaScript, lots of front end, lots of awesome things. So, actually, what's full screen? Anybody? Quickly? Command Shift up. Ah, cool. So I'm here to talk about documenting interfaces. I'm actually doing this talk at jQuery TO, but it's going to be a little bit bigger. This was only like a 10-minute presentation. I have 10 minutes, right? 15? Okay, awesome. So, is this on? Oh no. There we go. Okay, I like giving away free stuff. As the Humber College students know that are here, I see you. You guys can't answer this next question because I asked it at a talk I just did at their at the college the other day. But I have a free GitHub t-shirt to give away. I think it's a medium. I also have a ton of stickers that everybody can just run up and get. There's like Iron Man, I think. There's like Polar Mobile. There's a ton. There's Wolverine. Anybody? Oh, yeah. No problem. So yeah, quick question. I'd like to always give away free stuff because it's, I don't know, it's fun. So what's the default positioning of an element?
Static.
Yeah, bro. Not a lot of people know that because they're always dealing with relative or absolute positioning. Yeah. If you don't want, you can give it away. Make some friends. How many people have actually met me before or know who I am? Couple. Okay, sweet. Anybody? So who hasn't met me or know who I am? Sweet! We're gonna become friends. So you guys are all following me, right? It's at Darcy, just my first name. Pretty cool. I got friends at Twitter. Yeah, what is documentation? This is gonna be light again. You have to pay for the big show. But what's documentation? To me, it's about communication. It's about telling a story. It's about documenting something that's happened, events. Does anybody know what this is? Do you know, Lane?
Dead Sea Scrolls?
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know, actually. I don't know.
Wrong language.
What wrong language? It's cuneiform. It's cuneiform. Have you guys heard of cuneiform? So basically, this is one of the oldest documented sort of languages or documentation. It's about 3,000 years old. It's one of the oldest. I've tried to find the oldest documents. And I think that there was over 7,000, oh my goodness, 1,000 different pictograms in this language. So they literally were documenting everything. If you think about the characters we use to formulate the language we do now with, what, how many letters in the alphabet? 26? Okay, awesome. So we sort of evolved our language and the way that we documented things over time. You can tell we went to scrolls, we were drawing on rocks, and then we had books, and then we had pictures, and then we had cats looking at laptops. And it's gotten so crazy now that we also have cats looking at cats on iPads. So yeah, it's like catception. I bet you're thinking right now, whoa, alien documentation. Who watches the History Channel? No? Anybody? Do you ever watch Ancient Aliens? This guy's amazing. Okay. Small subset. This is an inside joke. So I'm going to get a little bit out there, but I like to think about time a lot. The past, the present, and the future. Lately I've been liking to think about modes that I'm in. I think there's two modes that you get in, and one is creation, the other is consumption. So when I'm creating something, I'm not consuming, I'm just generating. And it's kind of like an energy thing. I'm not like super hippie, but like I kind of look at it that way. When I'm creating something, I'm not consuming. When I'm consuming, I'm not creating. So I'm very aware of when I'm in one or the other. When you put these two things together, time and these modes, you seem to think that every time as a designer, as a UX developer, you're constantly, when you're creating, thinking about the future, how somebody's going to use your piece of work or how it's going to be perceived. And then when you're consuming, you're looking at something that's already been built, it's in the past, right? So if I'm reading a book or reading documentation, it was already created, it's sort of in the past. And then if you're in the present, we're always in the present, you're just out to lunch. So, but the future can be dangerous. If you are constantly creating and not looking and reflecting on what you've done, and not documenting what you've done, this can become a dangerous cycle. And if you get hit by a bus, the old theory, developers get hit by a bus and the project goes to hell because nobody else knows how to write the code because it's not documented. So I want to talk about UI. Oh, here we go. It's also very important to document because you got to be very. Everybody read that? It's the cutest kid I've ever seen. Right? This is why documentation is important, to tell you why students don't actually sound like airplanes. So there's different types of documentation out there. There's sort of conceptual documentation, which sort of gives you an idea about the thinking behind something. There's sort of tutorial, step-by-step guide to actually implementing something. And then there's reference, with strict reference or implementation. Sort of API guides would be similar to this if you've ever used, like a Bootstrap or something like that. So there's some really good examples of great documentation out there. Ember.js does a great job. A lot of these you'll notice are development-based or programming-based. Bootstrap has amazing documentation. Foundation, Backbone, GitHub. Has anybody seen the GitHub style guide ever? It's really good. But most of these are sort of curated. They're at they're curated references. And that's something that becomes an issue when you want to sort of have something that's easy to maintain. So I want to focus in on references for documenting UI. References or API documentation. So what should documentation be? It should be concise, descriptive, should be standard, and there should be easy to maintain. These are going to be the ones that you get with the tools that I'm actually going to show you right now. In the next couple slides. So UI documentation is hard because of a couple of things. A lot of times it requires context. You don't know whether you're in a mobile or desktop or tablet context. It's very hard to actually generate documentation for that unless it's curated again by hand. It also requires those visual cues. A lot of times, good UI documentation, it's great to have visual aids, pictures, videos, video tutorials. So this is very hard to do. It also requires multiple stakeholders. And what I mean by that is actually, when you look at UI, you need HTML, CSS, and JavaScript a lot of the times to actually implement UX and UI. So I want to talk about generators, because this is something that the programming community has been doing well for a long time. They've come up with ways to parse their code and generate documentation for themselves. So a good one, or a couple good examples of this are like UI doc, ext docs, natural docs. I think that's for PHP. This PHP docs as well. Tom doc, which is for Ruby, Doco, which is for CoffeeScript. And they all do one thing really well. It's comment parsing. But in order to have comment parsing, you have to have some sort of standard of comments. So this is what a typical comment block looks in JavaScript. I just use that because it's my best frame of reference. So you can see that it's very descriptive. It tells you what parameters it should take, what it should return. This is sort of a standard that has sort of gone around in a long time. If you're writing good code, you're usually writing great documentation. And if you write this, one of those parsers can pick up all your code and actually be able to generate the documentation for you. So, well, what about the UI? That was all sort of programming-based, API-based, functional documentation. And more specifically, what about CSS? CSS has sort of been the Wild West for a long time. People have sort of done everything their own way. So what about CSS as far as this goes, as far as documentation? Has anybody heard of KSS?
Yeah.
Yeah? Good. You? Oh, sweet, man. Hey, you came to the right time. So KSS was built by a guy named Kyle Neath. He works at GitHub. Really smart guy. I like KSS, but it doesn't get me all the way there. It's a sweet Ruby gem that does do some parsing of your CSS or your less or your Sass. So that's kind of cool. This is what his style guide looks like. So if you want the parser to actually work, you have to sort of write your documents or write CSS like this, or your comments like this. This is actually, I think, a less version. So you can see it's doing the backslash with backslash for comments. And you'll note that he doesn't really have any at tags like parameters or anything to declare the different sort of pieces of the style guide compared to that other JavaScript comment block. So that's something I'll get into in a sec. So you can actually go to warspire.com/KSS to check out an example. The one big problem with KSS right now is that it actually is a multi-step process. It doesn't actually build the documentation in one step. It's important to note that that's kind of like a really hard beginner's learning curve, like if you have to do multiple things to actually get a piece of software to work. So this is an example of what it outputs. So it looks pretty good. He's done a good job of actually framing it in such a way that abides by the sort of GitHub style guide. So there's some pros to this utility, to this tool. KSS dynamically generates an object. So it's sort of the tree of information for each comment in each section it creates. It also enforces structured commenting. So if you're working in a team and you have this one document that tells you how you should be commenting, it's great because everybody's on the same page and everybody knows what they should be doing. And this is something that's sort of being enforced in JavaScript for a long time, and everybody in CSS is sort of doing their own thing, which I think we should start to look and take some of those tips from the JavaScript community. Encourages documentation of states. So CSS, as you know, it's great now for doing different transitions, animations. So there's going to be a lot of different states, different classes that get added to different address that problem of context. And it also doesn't address the problem of inheritance. So styles can get inherit from their parents' styles. So that's the cons of KSS. Still great. So can we do better? I sort of went back and forth whether or not to showcase this. It's not really a showcase, but you guys will be the first people to see this outside of my company. And I'm only going to give you a little bit so that jQuery TL will have most of it. Okay? Full disclosure, obviously, I'm like, big part of jQuery TL. So, long pause. Okay, can we do better? Can we do better? Okay, so this is DSS. Well, KSS was Kyle Neath Nile style sheets, right? Called it after himself. I'm not calling it Darcy style sheets, it's documented style sheets, right? You know. So I want something that's a little bit more global. I want something a little bit more robust. I want to work with the community here and at large. I'm a big open source proponent. I want to come up with a standard way that we comment our CSS. So this is the logo. Still got some revisions to do. But documented style sheets essentially will be, warning, it's a work in progress. It will be a documentation tool. It will be a style guide, similar to what I just showed you. And it will be a comment parser. So it'll come with everything that you need to write or create documentation. It's also, that's not what I said. So the pros of actually doing this over KSS, which is the currently only tool I could find out there that currently does CSS documentation or generation, is it's a single step build process. So you just run a command, and it gets built. It's flexible. The style guide that I'm proposing is flexible. It can be iterated upon. This is great if you've ever done anything in standards committees and bodies. It's really important that we can actually have some flexibility in a specification. Template support, so you can get customization where you want it, and it isn't just going to be generic. So you can have a hybrid model of sort of tailored documentation to generated documentation. And then it is a Grunt.js plugin. Does anybody use Grunt? One? Okay, I'm talking to you after. So Grunt.js, it's a task tool, so all you would have to do is install Grunt. And in each one of your projects, you can actually include DSS. And when you go to actually build your project, it will run all that documentation, parsing, and it will actually create documentation for you. The cons of DSS. I'm going to tell you what's wrong with this. It still doesn't address the context issue. Documentation at CSS level is very shallow. Right now, I'm not doing anything that sort of holds context and figures out where you are within scope of CSS. And it still doesn't address the inheritance problem that KSS has. But I'm working on it. We are working on it at our company. We're trying to come up with a way that we can provide this in a tool. So this is the first look at the style guide. Again, you'll notice it looks almost exactly like that JavaScript style guide. We've got a name, a description. We've got states, which are similar to KSS. They have states. They just automatically parse it. But this isn't rigid. Actually defining the state gives us some flexibility in where these parameters are put, whether or not you include them or not. And if we always maintain, right now the spec says that if there's always a markup at the bottom, you can have HTML examples or code blocks at the end of your comment. So this is great for examples in the documentation. So this is what it looks like right now. I do have a GitHub repo right now. If anybody wants to comment on that, make issues, talk to me afterwards about it and what I'm doing with it and the spec. And then, so it's Darcy Clark, DSS is the repo right now. And I'm going to tell you more to be announced at JQuartio. So thank you. If you guys have any questions, do you have time for questions? Go.
Have you looked at all at addressing the issue of dependency management in tutorial style documentation, especially with large APIs? I find it's very common for it to go stale and nobody notices.
Yeah, so I looked at like a parent declaration. We've left it out right now until I can find a better way of like the inheritance and the context, because you might be able to, the parser might be able to do some of that work. But I did look very closely at adding a parent, and that would specify like another class or another name of a comment that you, or a piece of UI that you've commented. So eventually there will be something like that that will join together, like you say, dependencies or things that are parented, parents of child and nesting and all that stuff. So, cool. Go ahead.
For the inheritance thing, you can use Chrome or Firefox, the computed styles.
Yeah.
They've obviously, when they render it, they calculate that. Have you looked at digging into those plugins to figure out how they determine it?
Yeah, so that would require that we compile all the CSS, hold reference to where the comment blocks are, or like the selectors, and then figuring that out. It's definitely something I'd be open to. That's probably the only way that we would figure that out. One of the biggest problems though too is the HTML structure. Unless like that's probably the biggest one. The biggest hurdle is actually creating examples that somehow could be nested in each other. So at our company, we actually work on an SDK called Media Everywhere, and we have a ton of sort of views that get nested in each other, and those could change context, whether you're in tablet, because they're adaptive. We can change sort of what that looks like. So.
It's tough without rendering the whole page.
It's tough without rendering the whole app, right? So, and then changing the context and then showing you. So we're working on that right now. We're having discussions about it.
I feel a modicum of your pain.
Yeah. Okay. So right now this works great for like shallow CSS. So you have a bunch of classes like a Bootstrap, Twitter Bootstrap. This is perfect for it because a lot of the styles are global, sort of. They aren't nested so much as that you can put a class on anything and it creates that button or it creates that piece of UI. So that's great for them. For us, when the context changes, the UI changes. So it's a little harder for us to figure that out right now. But anybody else?
Question?
Go.
Any impediments to using a documentation system like this with, say, LESS or SAS or anything along anything? CSS or?
Not that I know of like any issues with that.
I'm just curious if you've tried it by any chance.
Yeah, I mean, I've parsed things with it. I'm not,
yeah, no, I mean.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a good question. We, the one thing that I should know that it's a good question because you can actually extend CSS elements and with mixins. So that is another sort of context and inheritance issue that we're still trying to figure out, like how we go about grabbing those styles in and creating that, generating that documentation.
Cool. Thank you, Darcy.
No problem.
So make sure you check out Darcy's remainder of the talk. jQuery TO. And
hey, that's
someone
pretty
here,
good for, come on.
Someone here, that was really good.
Thank you.
And someone here is going to win a ticket to go there. Check it out.